Okay, and now number 2 is Eileen Chapman. Eileen, are you with us? I don't really. There she is. Hi. Hi. I know you were a bit worried about the time today with everything you had on your plate, and I guess I don't know how much you were able to hear of my interview with Kerry, but I was saying how much I appreciate what the council does. I mean, there's so much going on that, I mean, it's kind of startling. I mean, just the number of resolutions that you have to move every 2 weeks is a major stuff. I mean, this is like, you know, controlling a county more than just a city. But
we are a very busy city.
Yes, indeed. And I'm cheating here. I'm trying to find your my questions for you.
Sure.
All right, and just make yourself comfortable. So how was were you at the memorial as well as the music venue there? Here you are.
So I just stopped at the memorial for a few minutes, Maureen. I was at a charity event this morning for the Asbury Park Toy Drive, and then ran over to the music program. And because of the wind and everything going on today, there were some adjustments that needed to be made. So it took a little more of my time than I had anticipated.
And the music was that Forber?
No, Steve Forbert was last week. Today was Conor Myers. He is a musician out of Nashville, originally from New Jersey, who is newly signed to a label that's been formed by Bruce Springsteen's producer, Ron Aniello. And so Conor is a former Marine, a former police officer, with an amazing voice, who was in New Jersey for a couple weeks and offered to play for us today, along with Pat Guadano, who is a local fan.
Pat, shout out there.
Yeah. So Pat. Two of my favorite artists were
great, great. Well, I started out being kind of amazed at your background. I didn't realize that you've been in Asbury Park since 1974. And is it true that your dad worked for the city? Is that
yes. So my dad was the city manager from 70 or 71 till 77.
71 to 77?
77. And I think, you know, part of the passion that I have for this city originated with my father. My father loved and lived and breathed Asbury Park. Every day he'd walk downtown and talk to the store owners, and every night he'd walk the boardwalk and speak to the shop owners there. He, you know, lived in several places around the city. He lived on 7th for a while. He lived on Springwood for a while. So he really enjoyed and was very passionate about the entire city. He used to call himself Asbury Bill.
Asbury Bill. So what was his last name?
Shiel, S-H-I-E-L.
Shiel. Okay. Did Rita Morano work for him?
Yes, Rita worked for my dad. Steve K worked for my dad. There were quite a few people that I came to know.
And Steve K, of course, was our former city clerk.
And I remember Rita used to wear these beautiful hats to work all the time. She was always
on the boardwalk, right? They had an office on the boardwalk.
There was an office, so you know they were in City Hall. City Hall was on Bangs Avenue for a while before it moved to its present location.
Inside.
Yeah. But there was an office alongside Convention Hall, and
yeah, she talks about that.
Yeah, there was another office that was built. There was this triangle between where Paradise is now and the Carousel building. And there was a building there as well. But Rita used to always be dressed up and looked absolutely
to the nines. Yeah. So she had worked in the city, I think, in New York City before that.
Well,
but we should explain who she is.
Her husband was lovely. I know my parents just adored them.
So and Rita, of course, was the Kingsley Deli, the nerve center of Asbury Park. But I want to talk to you about how much fun it was then, but also You've been at the heart of the entertainment business, the restaurant business, and it must be hard now to defer some of these one-on-ones that you like to do. You're a people person. I understand that it's been my experience, at least, that I'm often deferred to the communications person that you have now. What is it like for you to have to go through a communications person?
Well, I think it's important to have a single spokesperson. So, I think if we listen to everyone's tales of the city and everyone's stories individually, it sometimes creates confusion. So I think on a city level, it's important to have a cohesive voice so we can, speak sensibly sometimes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think it's great for us to have individual voices, but I think it's important to also have a communications director. I think they have the opportunity to reach into our tourism and visitors market. Some of the other things that she does is she creates.
Well, the problem though is that it's more of a corporate idea having a communications director, because that's not who the people elect. They want to talk directly to the people that they've elected.
I agree. And that's why, we do these coffee with a council person every couple of months.
So does she sit there and say you shouldn't talk about that? Does she? No. Is it? Because when I used to interview the people from Citibank and Chase Manhattan, the PR person would be right there and go, "Oh, excuse me, no, we can't discuss that. No, I would hate to see it get to that point."
No, and that's
so now
really
since June 1, since June 1, it's been especially difficult because the police reform has come to the fore as a major issue, of course, for the citizens in Asbury Park. Have you read the proposed ordinance on leveling and rent stabilization, for example? That's another important. It's also called rent control.
So our affordable housing ordinance, is that what you're referring to? Yeah.
Well, you've already passed that. I was referring to this time the proposed ordinance on leveling and stabilization, which is better known in the public.
I have
control ordinance.
No, I've not fully reviewed that, Maureen.
Not fully. Do you have any views on rent stabilization in general as a concept?
Well, I think rent control. I think that affordable housing options and the ordinance we passed, which provides for 20% affordable housing, I think it helps with rent stabilization. I think that's
the thing is that's only for 20% of the units on a large project. The market value of those units would not have any rent controls on them. That seems to be part of the issue. Why rent control is necessary.
Right, and I'd love to speak on this, but I'd like to review it more fully first before I have that conversation.
Well, there's actually a copy of it, I think, on this page, on this Facebook page that you just click on, and also it's on my my regular web page, which is asburyradio.com. So just for your convenience. So there are, I understand that there are some problems at Asbury Tower, which of course is the age-restricted 26-story home to a large constituency of yours, and a very large tax exemption from the taxpayers of Asbury Park. What are the building problems lately?
You're breaking up. I'm not hearing you. Can
we'll just have to keep going. I'm told here. Okay, let me repeat this. There are some problems with the Asbury Tower, the 26-story. 50, I think, was it 55 and over, or is it 62? It was 62.
It is 55 and over.
Did they change that? They lowered it to 52?
Yes.
Do you know about when they did that?
I don't.
I'm just going to time check. We have 9 minutes and 38 seconds. Sorry to be such a stickler for the time.
No, that's okay.
I probably need the discipline anyway. So I understand that there's always been problems. It is an older building, and of course they had that big rehab, but they are now partially for profit, and then there's the trust on the other side of the business, and they are still getting a large tax exemption that they got renewed. It was actually double the term. It had been 20 years. It expired around 06, 07, and they were renewed for a 40-year tax exemption. I plan to talk to the other candidates later about tax exemptions themselves. But I wanted to know, I understand they reached out to you at the tower about some problems there with sewer smells and things like that.
So yes, so they
confirm
did
that?
reach out about a smell that was in the building. And we actually went back with Kevin Ketty from the fire department,
Mm-hmm.
who then spoke with all of the individual people. They thought it was from the sewer plant, which it wasn't. And Kevin had identified some items within the building itself, some of it coming from people's apartments and some of it for other reasons. But Kevin went in to help take care of that, Maureen.
Has that been resolved now?
Yes.
Well, that's good to hear. I want to ask you about the equity committee. Where did that name come from? It seems not to match what it's proposed to do, which is to look at various police policies and that sort of thing. Where did equity committee come in?
So the equity committee is a project that Yvonne and Amy have personally been working on. You know, only 2 council people can speak about or be involved with any project at the same time. And
that's
so this is,
otherwise they would constitute
there's a quorum.
Right,
Exactly.
which they might be talking about future votes and that sort of thing.
Exactly. And we're really sensitive about that and make sure that when projects like this arise, that there are actually only 2 council people involved in any of that dialogue. So this is a committee that I know Amy and Yvonne have been passionate about and have been working on. I can't tell you where the name comes from, but I know that they've been waiting for some feedback from the community in order to move it forward a little bit. And I'm sure they will be able to speak further on that because they're just a little more entrenched with the name, with the dialogue, and with our, hopeful outcomes.
Right. So it was Yvonne and Amy.
Yes.
Yeah, and certainly there was a protest. I understand it was reported on NJ.com while you were doing your fundraising the other night.
Yes, there was.
Picketers.
Yes.
Picketers complaining about what was the message.
Well, I think I think there were a few concerns. I know that they, Freeholder Arnone and Senator Gopal had both attended the event and were co-hosting it. And I know, so there were some questions for them. I think there were also some concerns about job opportunities and there were a few questions, Maureen, and there were a few concerns. And I think it's important for people to be able to voice those concerns. That's what makes us a community. And I think, listening and helping to come up with solutions to people's concerns are absolutely probably the most important thing that we do.
Good. I just wanted to ask about your campaigning. In the local papers, you see a lot of pictures of more than 2 of you together. I guess because you're out at social functions, it's so important when you are a candidate. How do you avoid that appearance of a conflict with the?
So we do appear together at social events and while we're campaigning, but there's absolutely no discussion of any city issues, city problems, anything to do with the city at all. I can guarantee you that that's so important to all of us. Yeah. That's something we're really, really sensitive to.
And you have to avoid the appearance of conflict as well.
Yeah, you know, and even when we're at social events, sometimes when we're there, one of us will say, oh, we shouldn't all be standing together, and then we'll move away. But, you know, again, you know, when you're at a social event, sometimes you're not even thinking in those terms.
Right. I want to hear more, but I have to move on because we only have 5 minutes left, and I want to make sure I get to these other questions.
Sure.
Yeah. The audit report from the auditors and their recommendations recently. There was some very serious complaints, well, recommendations they call them, but some of them where a fire truck wasn't sent out for bid before purchase. And I was wondering, was that the fire engine, or was that the little pickup truck? Would make a big difference, even though they were both over the 40,000 minimum purchase. Anything over 40,000 has to be bid, of course. But the fire truck was 460,000 some odd dollars. So that
Right.
would have been quite an oversight.
No. It was the pickup truck.
It was the pickup truck. I'm
Yes.
glad
And you know,
have that.
every time we get these audits, so you know, I've been on the council for you know, almost 4 years now, and
Yeah,
these are
notice that because you fill the unused portion of the term of Joe Werner. Because
yes, for 3 months. I came on actually
family.
just to fill Joe Werner's 3-month petition, 3-month absence due to a family emergency, and that was really my plan, to just be here for 3 months.
Oh, funny thing happened there.
On the way, yeah.
What's the time now? Okay, we've got 3 minutes, and I would like to, if you could summarize. Maybe it's easier for you if you just name 3 things you want to get to. Your plans. And so this is your second. No, is this your second election?
Yeah, this will be my second election.
Second election, okay. So
yes.
What are your goals this time? What is on the top of your list?
So, you know, every January, I think of 3 things I really want to focus on for the coming year. And of course, this January, the 3 things that were on my mind, of course, you know, kind of went out the window due to COVID, because all of our attention went into, you know, all of the COVID decisions and everything related to getting testing in Asbury Park and getting rides to doctors and, you know, closing streets and, you know, limiting the number of people on the beaches. So everything kind of went out the window. But the things that were on my mind for this year were trying to encourage retail on the Springwood Avenue corridor. You know, one of the developments there has retail components built into the ground floor, but there hasn't been anybody interested in it. So I had a conversation with our city manager about how do we encourage businesses? Is there some way we can give them, you know, maybe 3 months free rent or 6 months free rent? Maybe we can work with the developer.
Yeah. You know, the eviction issue is really upon us now, just to seize on what you're talking about there. You know, it's not just and of course it's not there's a human risk here, you know, peril that people could end up on the streets, God forbid, because of the eviction problems. But there's also the business evictions that are coming down on us as well.
Exactly.
Can't the city do something, come up with some sort of a moratorium? Or I know that we have the temporary moratorium, but what is the city doing now to try and expand upon a moratorium, both commercially and residential?
Well, you know, the commercial establishments are mostly in privately owned buildings. So there's a business committee in Asbury Park. Amy actually sits on that business committee.
Okay.
I think Kathy Kelly from Paranormal chairs that business committee. Sylvia from the chamber sits on that as well. So there's a forum for people to meet, to have dialogue, and to, you know, talk about the possible, you know, outcomes of not only COVID, but everything we're going through at this point. People are losing jobs. There's just so much going on and so much to deal with that the business committee provides a forum for those people and can help meet.
In a minute.
Okay, and can help meet with the the private building owners. So one of the other things that was on my list.
Who is on the business committee?
Amy Quinn, Kathy Kelly. What's that?
Is there anyone who can actually influence the monies and the moratorium that you would need to extend? Is there someone who has a contact with the governor's office?
Yeah, and we constantly meet with county and state officials, and I think part of it needs to begin there as well, to help identify sources of funding and what these outcomes are going to be as the COVID restrictions end. How are we going to transition off these COVID restrictions?
Do you know, before we run out completely, with the COVID, what you're trying to do, what about the testing? Is there any hope of getting a test in the near future that would actually have a turnaround that would be same day? Or we're hearing now there's a 15-minute turnaround in some cases.
And so they do
horizon there.
Yeah, they do have that, Maureen, at the urgent care at the Asbury Circle.
The instant results?
Yeah, 15-minute results.
Okay.
The COVID testing we've got here, which was funded through the county and through the Grunham Foundation, I got tested. I had my results in 3 days.
3 days.
Yeah.
And
that was over a weekend.
Over a weekend. That's good.
Yeah, it was great.
But the urgent care on the Circle has the instant test. Yeah.
They do the quick test. Yes.
Okay. And is that covered by Medicare and insurance?
I don't know.
Mm.
I'm not sure how the quick test is funded.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would love to get that here for Asbury Park at some point. We've extended our testing here. It was only supposed to be 3 days. I think it's up to 10 days now. And, we started by testing 150 people. We watched those numbers go down. The last few tests, I think we tested 37 and 40 something. So I think people, have gotten around to being tested, but you never know if there's going to be a spike if those numbers are going to go up as well.
And the tracing, what are we doing on tracing?
So the Monmouth County Health Department, Asbury Park works with the Monmouth County Health Department, and they are working on contact tracing out of the health department itself.
Okay, I think that's where we have to wrap it up. We have what? Okay, would you like to finish up now?
Okay,
I guess anything that I didn't get to.
So I just want to say thank you for having all of us on here. It's been wonderful. It's always great to see you, and thank you.
What was that? Oh, we have a couple of seconds left if you want to get to those two other things that you had mentioned. Yeah. There were 3 things on your
Absolutely. Agenda. So I think preserving and protecting our green spaces, our parks, our waters, I think are also important to all of us. We've seen so many people using our parks and waterways this summer, especially because of restrictions on the beach, and because I think people were looking for something to do. So we have such beautiful parks in the city that helping to preserve and enhance them and provide opportunities for people to go outside and do something is also important. We need a new firehouse. Our firehouse, was condemned years ago, and we need to figure out what to do about that. In the meantime, our fire department during COVID actually stayed in 2 separate buildings. So we had half the fire department in our traditional fire department and the other half at DPW, just so they could stay safe through COVID.
Oh, for the water safe distancing. Wow.
To protect the rest of the city. And we didn't have 1 episode of COVID in our fire department. So they did such a great job.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, I wish you all the luck in the world. And you must say hello to your lovely husband, Tom.
I will. Thanks, Maureen. See you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. Bye.